It's you. 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 It's you.
All right, folks, back with another edition of the Red and White Podcast. I'm your host, Evan, and I'm happy with what I saw last week. I don't know about you, but the Pack looked pretty good. There was a lot of questions, offense, defense, replacing a lot of guys. What will the coaching staff look like with the dual play callers? But man, can't hate it. Beat down the Pirates. It wasn't really close. I mean, it hadn't been close for 2 games now. Pirates have scored 9 points. You have to be happy with that effort. You thought they'd come in here, play harder, and I think they did. They had the first drive, and it was scripted pretty well, and but they were just at the end of the day, the depth would play in our favor, and it did. And ECU could just never get anything going. The Pack kept Ehlers on the run, made him really uncomfortable, forced him to do things that he didn't want to do. And I mean, damn, I was happy with that. I was happy with what I saw. They were getting pressure with 3-4 guys down, dropping 6, and ECU really couldn't do anything. And I thought that was fantastic. Secondary played with speed. They played better. They just looked better. And I'm happy with that, man. It's the change to 3-3-6. I think you can see the impact there. You can see the impact of the speed they've added. And it's always hard to measure yourself against ECU when they're so bad right now. But you really got to there's a lot of positives, I think, to take away from it. Defensively especially. Offensively, I thought McKay looked good. Everybody's, they're not perfect. What do you expect from a guy making his first start? He missed some deep balls. Okay, I get it. That could be a little bit amped up and adrenaline, or just, a little bit of inexperience trying to not get enough air under him and, throw a little bit of bullets. He showed the arm that he can throw it, and I think they'll probably connect on those. I think that just becomes a little bit more rhythm in practice and get a little more comfortable and hit those shots. If he hits a couple of those, this game is 50-6, and it's an even bigger blowout. But he looked good. He looked poised, under control. Made smart throws. I was really happy with what I saw, and then you could see why the coaches liked him. Some of the deep outs across the field kind of scared me. All those, he had the arm strength to throw them, but you throw one of those passes and it gets jumped. That's a pick 6, but he completed them, so can't really hate on it. Pack looked fast too, offensively, and I guess the bigger takeaway for me is that they threw the ball nearly 40 times, and everybody expected us just to go in there and run it. Part of that is ECU loading the box, making us throw. When you have a new quarterback like that, I mean, that's not too big of a surprise. The surprise was that we actually did throw it that many times, and he looked fine doing it. I think you'll probably see a little bit different game this week with Western Carolina, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. But yeah, they threw it, and they also, part of it was probably trying to get McKay into a rhythm, trying to get him comfortable, let him throw some easy passes. He targeted Thayer Thomas on the quick ones quite a bit until he got into a rhythm, got a little bit more comfortable, and then getting the ball into the hands of Thayer Thomas, Emezi, Tabari Hines. Those guys look good. And they look fast, and that's all you want to do, man. Get the ball to the playmakers. So I was really impressed with that. I think this week we'll see a little bit more action from some of the second teamers. So maybe Lassane gets a few more touches. Jordan Houston, I expect to get a few more touches. Penix, I think he only got 1 touch. He was in there for a couple of pass plays. You're just not going to really play your starters, and I don't expect them to. So this week it'll be a little bit different. But I was happy with what I saw, and you can definitely see across the board a speed increase and a talent increase, offensive and defensively. And that's kind of refreshing to see. It's something that we haven't seen in a while. So I'm happy with that. The outcome of the game, obviously. I'm sure everybody I talked to, for the most part, felt the same way. I mean, there was some nitpickers, but I mean, really, I don't know how you can be nitpicky about that. You know, we talked previously about special teams. I thought Trenton Gill looked really good. Kicking the ball out of the end zone, that was nice to see. Had some deep punts. Dunn didn't miss. Made a couple field goals, extra points, all that. So that was really good to see. The snaps were good. A lot of positives there. The only probably downside of the entire game, or the only bad thing about the entire game that I would say would be special teams coverage. I thought it was pretty abysmal. Guys got out of their gaps, out of their lanes, and ECU made us pay one time, but thankfully it was called back for a holding. But they didn't seem sharp. To be expected, I guess, to a degree, but that's something they can clean up. But they do need to get better on the special teams coverage, because if you get a dynamic playmaker back there, and we'll see a few of them in the ACC, that could hurt us. And you flip the field like that, and that's not something you really want to see. Yeah, a little late getting the podcast out this week. I had a friend in town from Scotland. I took him to his first college football game, and he loved it. Had a great time. I couldn't believe the excitement around college sports. That was fun to see. The bad was the entire experience with concessions and getting into the game. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse since it is Friday, but it is something that needs to be talked about. And it's the first thing is, we got to the gate like 15 minutes early, right? Just in time to get in there, see the entrance, do the things, and fly over and all that stuff. But the line outside of the North Gate by the PNC was ridiculous. They had added 4 metal detectors. Didn't tell us previously. Didn't allow more time. The communication on that was horrible. They've made changes like that in the past, and they've let us know ahead of time. Hey, get there a little early. It's going to take a little bit longer. But this was abysmal. And I don't know whose responsibility that is, but the communication on that was pretty terrible. So it got to the point where we missed kickoff, missed the flyover, all that stuff, and eventually they just said screw it and let everybody in. They didn't make us go through the metal detectors, which, I get the public safety argument, but it was really, really poorly done. And it apparently wasn't done at all gates. I don't understand that. I don't understand the inconsistency there. Something needs to be improved and communicated better. I think that was really disappointing. The other part was the beer sales, right? Everybody's jacked up about it, but the lines were ridiculous. You get a band and they still check your ID. What's the point of getting a band if you're checking your ID? They need to get that faster. They need to improve the payment system. Use the Apple Pay or Google Pay or any Venmo. Set them up, right? So you can just do that and be done. You don't have to worry about the transaction, and you can speed things up. Set up. Just it needs to be better. Additionally, though, we went out at halftime to get a sandwich or whatever, and they were out of food on the west side. And that's terrible. How do you do that? This is not the first game we've sold food at, right? Like, I don't understand how the only thing you have left at your concession stand is popcorn. That was ridiculous. It was very poorly done. It was a bad look. I don't understand why we have such a problem with that. The concessions, the facilities really need to be upgraded. That is something that I think is really important. You want people want to talk about the crowd in the third quarter, all that jazz. You know, if I'm Dave Dorm, I'm beating the drums. Hey, fix this process, fix the facilities, and people will be more likely to stay. I had more friends stay in, but damn, it's hot as hell out, and you can't. It's lunchtime. You can't get anything to eat. You can only get a soda. I mean, it was. I don't know, man. That was Bush League. It was Bush League at best. They need to fix that. That's the drum I'd be beating, not the pass out drum. That's stupid. That's a dumb argument. You can keep people in by making the experience better. And you're gonna have to if you eventually plan on rolling out pass outs, then or rolling back pass outs or selling them, making them a privilege. You need better facilities. You need a better setup. You should be able to go down, get a drink, a sandwich, a beer, and be back in your seat in 5 minutes. Right? It shouldn't take that long. But it's just not set up for that, man, and it's really poor. It was really poorly done. It was disappointing for the first game. And I thought there'd be hiccups with the beer sales. Everybody expected the long lines. That's fine. I get it. But to run out of sandwiches for a noon game, come on now. We're better than that. That was really disappointing. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but yeah, going back to the metal detectors and the lack of communication thing, I'm not sure who's responsible for that. But one thing I've noticed, and I was talking to a friend of mine the other night about this, and I know Boo just spoke at the Raleigh Sports Club and seemed a bit unprepared for the questions he was getting and seemed a bit dismissive, by all accounts, at least from secondhand accounts that I've heard from people who were there. And that is not the right approach to deal with state fans. I don't think we're a unique breed. I just think we're unique to the area. I think we're a passionate group that feels a bit under, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Underappreciated, right? Underserved, overlooked. One of those things. All of those things, really. And something that Debbie Yao did was her communication was fantastic. She engaged with the fans. She engaged with that conversation. She made an effort to relate to us. Like she was one of us. And I think that is something that Boo has yet to do. And when you answer questions, about noon kickoffs and all that jazz, and you just say, well, we're 14-1 at noon kickoffs. I mean, just that's not the point. That's beside the point, right? 14-1, sure, but you're playing chumps, so it's nothing to do with noon kickoffs. There's no correlation to that. And you just haven't really heard from him, right? As a fan base, we haven't heard from him. We haven't been informed of changes like the metal detector policy change. I mean, something like that. I have a hard time thinking Debbie Yao would have let that not go unannounced beforehand. And you never want to be the guy following the guy, right? You don't want to be the backup quarterback following the greatest quarterback. And I know, Debbie Yao is the best athletic director we've had in the history that I can ever remember. And I'm sure some of the old timers might argue with that. But in my lifetime, she's the best we've had. And he's got to follow that act, and he's got a lot to live up to. And, frankly, we just haven't heard much from him. He hasn't tried to connect. Maybe that's not what we need now. Maybe Debbie Yao has pushed us past that point. But it sure feels like he could be doing a better job in communicating with us and is staying in touch with us. I think that's our fan base. We're a bit needy in that regards, and we want to feel appreciated. And we don't want to feel overlooked. And we don't want dismissive or snarky replies. We get enough of that from the local media and the people that cover us. We don't need that from our athletic director. And I don't think he's being snarky. That was just, other folks do it. That's not something we need. We need better communication there. And that's what I'd like to see. I want to see a little bit better communication from Boo in that regards. Because right now, it feels a bit distant. Yeah. I'm curious if anybody else feels like that as well. If you are, let me know. Reach out. I think, I don't think I'm alone in that sentiment. Western Carolina, they stink, like really, really bad. They lost at home to Mercer, 47 to something. I mean, they got throttled. They play a spread. They're gonna probably throw the ball a lot. I think the kid threw for 300 yards against Mercer, but they're just not very good. And FCS school, I don't expect us to play a lot of starters. I don't want us to play a lot of starters if we can avoid getting guys hurt avoid getting guys hurt. So getting through healthy and getting ready for West Virginia. I expect they'll probably play McKay and company, play a lot of starters for a quarter or so, but they really shouldn't play much beyond that. It given the opportunity to the younger guys to step in and show what they can do, get some reps. You have the 4-game rule. Use it. Jordan Houston, I expect to get a heavy load. Maybe Penix, Delbert Mims, one of those guys to be in there too. Hockman, Leary should get some snaps. I mean, just get some guys some reps in there. Get some experience. Get through that game without tipping your hand to West Virginia. Because that West Virginia game is very important. I don't think they're very good. I think they lost this past weekend. And I forgot who it was to. I'm not sure. I don't think they won. Let me double check. West Virginia live podcasting, where I'm Google searching. Very good. Oh, okay. They beat James Madison 20-13. They were losing at one point. I do know that. Yeah. We need that. We need that win. So get into that game healthy. Get into that game with your best players ready to go. Get into that game with some cards up your sleeve. I think that's what everybody wants to see. That's what we should see, and that's what I expect to see. Yeah. Should be a pretty uneventful game. But still plenty to watch, right? Plenty to see the young guys get in there and play and see what they can do. I think that's super important. And they're talented, man. I was really impressed with Jordan Houston. I thought he looked good running the ball, ran hard. He's shifty. You can see he's going to be an asset to this team in the future. Even now, he's going to get some run. I think that's a hell of a late game signing. Right, jumping on him after Griffin flips to Georgia Tech and being able to get Houston. I think that's fantastic. And it showed its worth there. He can play. He can really play. Lassane looked good. Looked fast with the ball. Tabari Hines, I think, was as advertised. He was fast. He looks like he knows what he's doing. They ran it in and around with them. He caught a long touchdown. Just I was happy, man. I was happy with the way everything unfolded. I thought the play calling was decent. There wasn't too many what the hells. There wasn't any wildcats, stuff like that. I mean, plenty of wheel routes and screen passes and getting the ball into the hands of the guys that can run. So, yeah, that was all good. C.J. Riley getting hurt was not good. I think it's one of the positions where you're deep enough. I feel bad for C.J. It's his second ACL. I think he'll come back fine. I would assume he'll get a medical red shirt. At least I would hope the NCAA would do that. He, people argued, well, why is he out there? He's been one of our best special teams players for the last couple of years, so put him out there. I have no problem with that. I mean, Frank Beamer and Virginia Tech, that's Beamer ball, right? They made that popular. Hey, get your best players in the game as much as possible. So I have no problem with that. It's just, non-contact injury. It's just freak things happen, right? There's no fault with that. That could have happened, him running a route. That could have happened at any point. So hope it gets better fast. I'm sure he will. He's been through it before. And it's time for one of the young guys to step up. I think it's a position where we have some talent. So, maybe you lose that really top-end speed that he's got. But I think we've got speed in other positions. So, mostly good about the game. Happy about it. I'm sure everybody else is. Love to know your thoughts. I think I posted actually most of this on Twitter a couple days after the game or the day after the game. So, yeah, looking forward to yet another weekend of college football. I'm not sure. The games look kind of strange this weekend. I don't really know who I love. I think Wake probably should cover the 18 versus Rice this week. And I think that game's tonight. So I'll go with Wake as my cover. That one, I feel like pretty good about that. I think Rice is pretty bad, and Wake's pace is pretty strong. Still don't know how they won that game last week. I don't know how Carolina won. South Carolina was pretty trash. What else happened? Virginia Tech looked like Virginia Tech. They got beat by BC. You just can't lose that many players like they've done this past offseason and not have issues. They have a lot of issues. That's about it, George. I think everybody will be a huge Miami fan this weekend. I know I will. It's probably the rare occasion I'll pull for the Canes as they play Carolina. I want to derail the Mac is back train as much as possible. But other than that, I hope everybody stayed safe with the hurricane. Most of us around here got pretty lucky. Maybe some power outages, but nothing major. But to our friends and listeners on the coast, hopefully your recovery goes quickly and you're able to make the game or watch the game and all that. So that's all I got. Quick one this week. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to try. I might have some co-hosts. Maybe trying out somebody here and there. I've talked to a few people that are interested, and so we'll see how it works. And we'll keep trying to make the podcast better. As always, thanks for listening. Hope to see you guys out there on Saturday. Go Pack.
It's you. It's you. It's you. It's you.